Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
I gotta get this straight. Now, Chelsea Clinton gets out of college and gets a job at NBC that pays her $900,000 per year. Her mom, Hillary, flies all around the country speaking about the evils of white privilege. Go figure. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a Patriot to call in the first of the week with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Oh, good morning on this Monday, September 23rd already. Holy moly. Zeb at the Ranch, I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you with a big fall tire sale. Stop in and see them today. Some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, and they are always helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Heyburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, let's go to the phone line and have our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning. I pledge allegiance to the flag, to the... Face it, Zeb. I pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I knew you'd come through. Thank you, my friend. God bless you. Good to hear you on the radio. Thank you, Jerry.
You have a wonderful day, and may the Lord bless you and all them young children out there listening.
All right. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it. Right now, it's time for the weather before we get things all muddied up with what's going on in the world. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn on the Burley-Paul Highway. You know, anything you need right there. Excavators, air compressors, and they've got all the groundwork and equipment to help you get in. Maybe your lawn sprinklers for next year or water lines, whatever. They've got the best of tools and equipment, and for both long and short-term rental. Please get a hold of them today. K&R Rental at 256 South, 600 west of Heyburn. Number to call, 678-3122. And here's Gina with the weather.
And good morning as we saddle up for another week on this Monday. Time for your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. For today, expecting mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be around 72. Then for tonight, mostly clear. Lows of 44. A little bit of a breeze going to be coming in on Tuesday. Looking for sunshine and a high of 71. Mostly clear for Tuesday night and breezy. Lows of 44. Then for Wednesday, sunshine, a high of 70. Maybe a chance of some showers moving in on Thursday and Friday. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
That wasn't Gina unless she's got a really bad cold. Thank you, Scotty, for the weather. And the weather brought to you by K&R Rental. And they're located right there on the Burley-Paul Highway. Can't miss them. Roger and the crew get there early in the morning. And they're there at 7 o'clock to serve you. Call if you have questions, 678-3122. K&R Rental. This week is Lunch Bunch Week on Thursday. We're going to be over there. Don't miss it at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. And we urge you to come on and have fun with us and great food, too. Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. And whether it's breakfast, whether it's lunch, whether it's supper, dinner, whatever you want to call it, desserts anytime, all the time at Denny's Restaurant. And they've got 2 locations, 611 North Overland in Burley and also 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. And it is America's Diner. And Zeb's Lunch Bunch, that's where we go, Denny's Restaurant. We also want to say a big thank you to Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, and along with Denny's, all the gift certificates for Lunch Bunch this Thursday at 11:30. Also, real quick, before we get rolling, I want to say a big shout-out and thank you to Daryl's Cleaners. Hello, Kevin and Cindy. Every single time I go in there with all my rumply crumplies, and whether it's my Wranglers or my sports shirts or jackets or whatever the case might be, they come back to me brand spanking new. Some of you are already finished up hunting for the year. Some of you have rolled up that old sleeping bag and everything with all the Cheetos and everything in it, and taking it and throwing it in the closet. Don't do that. Don't do that. Get it cleaned now at Daryl's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. They're waiting to serve you. All right, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. There's so many things in the news that I absolutely don't know where to start first. Let's go with this story first and foremost. Right now, as we speak, there is complete chaos going on in New York City. Oh, my. The climate change kooks, these rude, absolutely uneducated or very lowly educated people, are trying to take control of New York City, as they did other cities across the United States over the weekend. And they are trying to absolutely disrupt and stop anyone from getting to work this morning. They're stopping all mass transit. They're absolutely creating chaos in New York. And this couldn't be a worse day. And the reason they're doing it is they are trying to draw attention to what they think is climate change that's going to kill them. And the United Nations is having a huge gathering meeting in New York City today. So here you have all these people from all these countries trying to get to the United Nations. And by the way, I've been there, and it's in a very high congested area. And it is totally a mess. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, isn't it a shame that they let children out of school so they could go protest?
Pathetic.
And they don't even know what they're protesting?
Not a bit. I agree with you. I am incensed that teachers and school administrators and schools would let children that haven't got the idea at all about come here or sick 'em regarding anything that's going on in government today. Really, they don't understand what's going on with the purported climate change and the idiocy of it. And letting kids out of school to protest when they should be learning the 3 R's, I'm incensed about this.
I am too, but not to change the subject, but don't you think it's time for our old friend Joe to ride off into the sunset while he's still got his shirt on his back?
No, I'm not going to talk about that right now. Keith, honestly, you started one subject, and I'm not going to get away from it right now. Don't change horses in the middle of the stream because you'll get wet. I'm going to stay with that story on green energy for right now. Thank you.
Oh, well, I concur with you 100%. But we got all these Democrats that are jumping on board with this climate change, and It's not true.
Well, we do have a mess in this country, and I'm going to be discussing that at great length this morning, and we're going to have some continuing segments for your information and others with people that are really knowledgeable scientists, not these crackpots, and certainly not saying, well, 99.9 of scientists agree in global warming and climate change. No, they do not. The scientists that they have taken into their fold might be 99.999 or whatever, but not scientists in general. And when I listen to the people that are really knowledgeable, like Joe Bastardi with the National Weather Service and other great people that understand what's going on in weather, it puts these crackpots to shame, some of which live right here in Magic Valley.
The next time someone approaches you about climate change, just ask them, when is the last time that any of these things have come to fruition? They haven't.
That's exactly right. And instilling in these kids a fear that they're going to die, they're going to burn up, and don't have kids, don't eat meat, don't support American ranchers, farmers, don't have anything to do with anything, I mean, is absolutely, it's evil and it's a crime. Keith, I got another one waiting. Good morning to you, and I hope we see you at Lunch Bunch.
Looking forward to it.
All right, buddy. Thank you very much. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I want to remind everybody about Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. And with our weather, you're going to be seeing some big changes like Scotty alluded to a few moments ago. We're going to be seeing the next couple of days, probably really good, fall weather, 71, 72, 73. Then look out, somebody pulled the rug out from underneath your Tony Llamas. It's going to get a lot cooler. So please remember, for all your heating, cooling, and electrical needs, it's Ramsey Heating and Electric. Open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and I urge you to get a hold of them today. They have all your furnace filters. You better be prepared at Ramsey Heating and Electric in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Caller, I am so sorry to keep you waiting. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb. I'm a plant scientist, and it's just ludicrous. They never mention that without carbon dioxide in the process of photosynthesis, we don't have oxygen to breathe and food to eat. That is never brought up. It's just carbon dioxide, and we are actually at a low ebb. We've had carbon dioxide levels on this planet much higher than they are now. I think the new level is 410, but if we go below 250, the planet dies. I mean, we're at the low ebb of this whole thing. And what you just said about 99.9% of the scientists, yeah, that's on a basis of only 77 hand-selected scientists. They got 97% of them, or 75 of them, to go along with this. And I suppose they said, well, 2 of you better not go along, but 100% would be, they know that's not right. Well, there's actually, as you know, over 31,000 U.S. scientists that are against man-caused global warming. We never hear that.
Well, Adrian, let me jump in here for a minute. Adrian, wait a minute. What about other people of your education? Why isn't there more of a clamoring from people like you and forming coalitions of power and spitting in their eye, so to speak, to tell the government and tell the American populace this is a bunk, or there's another word I wanted to use but I can't, a bunk notification to the world that they want to take total control? Tell them how bunk it is. How are you going to make more of a voice for yourself?
Well, the whole thing is, a good scientist friend of mine in Oregon organized this petition drive thing, and he's put out all kinds of press releases, but with the socialists controlling the mainstream media, it gets nowhere. The local paper here, Zeb, they will not publish anything, even though I'm a PhD scientist, against man caused global warming.
Oh, no, wait a minute. Whoa, Adrian, stop for a minute. Stop. They won't publish your works written as a professional, but they will put in op-eds by a man that has no business spouting off about climate change or global warming or anything, like Jim Jones, our former Idaho Attorney General. This is ludicrous.
Yeah, Jim Jones is unbelievable. I mean, he's really turned to be. He's supposedly a Republican, but boy, he's a rhino if there ever was one. And but you know, we've gone through these cycles. The main thing that controls the weather is the sun, and right now we don't have any sunspot activities. And what happens when that happens? When we don't have much solar activity, we get cooler temperatures, which we have been. All of this stuff about the warmest year on record. You know how that occurs is because they're taking out the coldest climate recordings on the planet, and so the average is going up. So, you know, figure don't lie, but liars figure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even Patrick Moore, he was the co-founder of Greenpeace. He dropped out when he found out that this was not about saving the environment. This is about controlling us people. The United Nations people have admitted the same thing.
Absolutely.
So it's a total fraud and hoax.
I agree with you, and I'm so glad. I got to get you back out here on this program so that we can do it face-to-face on the microphone. I appreciate it. Adrian, thank you for your knowledge. Thank you for always voicing your opinion. Appreciate you. Thank you very much.
You bet. Have a
Thank
good
you.
day. Bye.
He's right. He's absolutely right. I'm telling you, these kids, punks, and it even happened up in Boise. I mean, and they're coming out with, we're going to save the world. And then they make comments like the past 5 years have been the hottest on record. Now, honestly, I want you to ask yourself a question. Sit back, and I keep weather charts from every day of Gina and Scotty doing the weather for me. Sit back and honestly tell me that you thought by any stretch of the imagination this year was a hotter than ever year. Think about the spring. Think about the coolness and the rain and the moisture. Then think about July and August where we did have some warm days. Gee, golly, it was summer. Now, think about the last couple of days and the transition going into autumn. Think about what the weather forecast is for today and tomorrow, and then think about how things are dropping off the table sideways on the weekend. And temperatures down to where they're calling for maybe highs only in the 50s. Seasonal weather. I'll be darned. But yet these climate kooks, and they are, absolutely, it's not about climate change, it's about controlling you and I and everything we do. It's about carbon taxes. It's about sticking us with higher rates of energy costs so we don't go anywhere, do anything, or be involved in anything because we can't afford to. These people are sinful and evil. I'll say it. I don't care who's offended by that. Whether it's our local illustrious rag, the Times News, Jim Jones, who has no business spouting anything about climate change when he has no knowledge of what he's talking about, makes ludicrous statements, and others saying, we're all going to die, we're going to burn up. No, we are not. Get that out of your head. The control of the weather is from only one being, God. And if you don't believe in God, then I really pity you and feel sorry for your ignorance. Caller, I'll be right there. Stand by. I want to remind everybody about Ark Animal Hospital. Don't forget that you need to get your fall vaccinations of your puppy dogs, and there's been some cases of pyro, like I've been telling you about, very deadly for dogs. And I want you to get over to Ark Animal Hospital at 750 21st Street near Connection Credit Union in Hayburn. Absolutely. Number to call, 678-1177. Dr. Bill and the crew, they want your animals healthy and will do all they can to help them. Please get a hold of them. Mixed animal practice, large or small, they take care of all of them. And believe me, it's true. Ark Animal Hospital in Heyburn, 678-1177, where they have the warm hearts for the cold noses. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, I was up past your house the other day up at Magic Mountain Saturday, and there was, they have teams from all over the state that have, mountain bike races, and I was surrounded by environmentalists, and I'm going to tell you, I didn't hear their words, but I guarantee you that those people were totally in on the deal. Banning fossil fuels, believing in global warming, and there isn't a clue of any logic to any of it. There is nothing logical. These people will destroy our economy, and that's really what they want to do, so they can swoop in and save us. But you see, if you try to start fiddling with farmers, ranchers, dairymen, or any independent business person, you're going to destroy them and tax, just like in Oregon, with the carbon tax and credits and the reason why those 12 senators left, that's still on the books over there. They're still trying to get it done. And in fact, they're trying to have a recall for Kate Brown, which would be good.
Mm-hmm.
We're surrounded by insanity, and it's right up the street from where you live. It's everywhere. I tell you what, Deb, I get worried to death. I pray that there's enough of us that know better, and that we have enough kids that know better.
Well, let me jump in here. I don't think they ever realize, nor do they ever talk about, because they're not smart enough to consume the facts, that let's talk about the climate crazies. Let's talk about these people like Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders and others. Let's talk about their green new energy deal with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. People are never asked, these people are never asked about certain things. Oh, well, if you're going to impose no cars, and you're going to impose no fossil fuels, please explain to us before you go to the polls in November of 2020, how are we going to have a sustainable agriculture program to feed us? Oh, by the way, let me ask you this. What about transportation of goods and services across the United States to be dropped off at distribution points for the general public? Oh, well, you didn't talk about that. Well, how about all the big sports jocks like LeBron James and everything that are preaching for climate control and also the green new energy deal? How are people going to afford to go to those basketball games, drive there, get there, and pay the absolutely outrageous prices to buy a ticket to watch you play? They don't think about this. They're not smart enough, Randy.
No. Any kind of foresight is beyond their ability. Hey, one more quick thing, and that I think the audience needs to know, and Zeb knows this. This isn't just me, but, if they shut down Bridger in Wyoming, and right next to it is natural gas, but they want to shut the plant completely down. So the coal will be extra. So the governor of Wyoming is because he can't ship it through the port of Portland because of environmentalists who are literally leaning. I don't know how this is working, if it's the governor of Oregon or what, but they can't ship this coal from Wyoming because they have extra, because they're shutting down coal-fired power plants. They're going to ship it down to Mexico because the Mexicans don't care. And they don't care about global warming. They don't care about climate change. They just want to make money on the deal.
All right, well, hold on just a second. Randy, because it goes even deeper than that. You know as well as I do, the ultimate end of the story would be to sell and ship the coal over to China. I don't know if you're aware or not that the Casper Star Tribune newspaper has reported that the state of Utah and Baja California, Mexico, have signed an agreement last year to allow Utah producers to ship coal and gas for export by rail to a port south of San Diego, which will eventually go overseas. A little bit more to the plot, Randy.
Hey, think about it. Remember how they were shutting down the coal plants during Obama? He was such a good man. I want to give him a kiss. I tell you what, man, what he did to Price, Utah, and I don't know if it's ever recovered. I haven't checked. There's so much going on, you forget. I know he destroyed that economy in that town, in that area. But they had a coal-fired power plant, if I'm not mistaken. But I know they had a coal mine, and those people all were dependent on it. Now, I guess Utah's going to send their coal to China, too. And you know what happens is the wind blows from the east over to the west, and all that coal that's burning in China is coming our way anyway. And the environmentalists, they need to go to China, and they can go work over there and clean up that mess.
I'll tell you, Randy, there's a lot we could talk about, buddy, but I'm running late. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you. I mean, before I give away the cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox, it's just absolutely insanity. It's insanity. Well, we're going to shut down Fort Bridger. Idaho Power leads us down this sweet and lovely little green power road where they want to go 100% green energy by 2045. Complete green energy. Really. Ask our Canadian friends north of the border about their carbon taxes. Ask them about what's happening with green energy. Talk to the people in Europe about green energy. But yet Idaho Power, they wouldn't come on this program and answer questions. Nope, they're hiding under their desk like the cowards that they are. Right now, I want to give away some cookies at Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street in Rupert, right on the square. Delicious, absolutely phenomenal restaurant, and the bakery. They can make everything, cookies, pies, wedding cakes. It's all great. And if you answer the question this morning, you will win a dozen cookies to Sophie's Chatterbox. All you need to do is just call them and let them know when you'll be coming in. And here is the question. First person to call, 436-2244 or 1-866-927-8. What in the world are you doing here, Zeb? You forgot your numbers, for heaven's sakes. 8886. Can I start this whole segment over again? And Sophie's Cookies. We're going to give away a dozen cookies. 1-866-927-4587 or 436-2244. Here's the question. Whew, finally. On the TV series, Everybody Loves Raymond. What was Raymond's last name? What was the family name? Give me a call quickly and you can be the winner of the cookies that we finally got out from Sophie's Chatterbox. Once again, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call quickly, please, and you can be the lucky winner. While I'm waiting. Boy, I haven't had a stumble-stamble like that for a long time. Here comes our caller with the right answer, hopefully. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, is it Barone?
Who is this?
Jana Ray Christensen.
Say that again real slow because my pen's not that fast.
Oh, Jana Ray Christensen.
That is a really pretty name, Jana Ray. I've never heard that one before.
Thank you.
And besides that, I'm trying to butter you up so you give me half your cookies.
Oh, okay.
Call over to Sophie's and let them know when you'll be there for the cookies, okay?
Okay, thanks so much.
All right, thank you. It was Barone. That's right. It was Raymond Barone. And Jana Ray Christensen is the winner. Phew, we finally got through all that. I want to remind you, too, about our friends over at Dino's Septic Service. Hello, Dino's. Doing the job that we don't want to do. Absolutely. You don't want to be standing out there on a beautiful fall day with the winds and the sunshine and then pumping out a septic tank. No. Liquid waste removal, sewer and sink drain lines cleaning. They do it all. Backhoe service, water and sewer lines installed. Absolutely, they are the best at what they do. Dino's Septic Service, and the number's 436-6526 or 678-1638. Fast, fair, friendly service, I can guarantee you that. They really did a nice job for us. Don't forget, call them, and they also have that big truck that says Smells Cargo on the way. Dino's Septic Service. Great people. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This deal that's going on right now with President Trump, the president of the Ukraine, Joe Biden, and his son Hunter Biden, and lots of money is a big, big story. And I'll tell you what, next hour at 9:06, we're going to talk to the man that absolutely can lay this thing out, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that, of course, is Richard Manning. Richard's right back there, right in the middle of all this, and he knows what's going on. He's going to tell us exactly what was the conversation with President Trump and the Ukrainian president, why or why not it's important, and what about Joe Biden? He was all befuddled when a Fox News reporter, Peter Doocy, asked him, did you ever have any conversation with your son, Hunter Biden, about his investment and business with the Ukraine? And Biden shot back and said, no, I never did. Well, see, that was a lie. That was a lie. Now, a lot of people could say, well, maybe Joe forgot. Well, Joe forgets a lot of things lately that are very, very important. And he said, no, I never did. I never talked to him about that. Well, the proof is in the tape. Not in the pudding. It's in the tapes. And there are sound bites and tapes that show and disprove what Biden said. He lied. He absolutely lied. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Deb. You know, it's time for Joe Biden to saddle up and ride off into the sunset while he still has a shirt on his back, because he is absolutely the biggest liar in the world. And when he says he'd like to beat Trump like a drum, I would gladly pay the admission to see that.
You know, Keith, body language of people says a lot, sometimes a lot more than their actual verbiage. And when he was pressured on this, if you'll watch the newscasts of Biden and how he reacted when asked about whether he ever had any conversations with his son Hunter Biden over this mess, and it is a mess, in Ukraine, you could see by the eyes and the muscles and the tenseness of his body, you could tell that when he said, I've never talked to him about that, it was a blatant lie. And it was solidified that he lied by many of the tapes and sound bites that were found from over a year ago. So I have no faith whatsoever in Joe Biden. I have no faith whatsoever in Hunter Biden, his son, as to the illegalities and money under the table. I think this whole thing is going to blow up in the Democrats' face, and I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you that this will be the shovel of dirt that will be thrown in Joe Biden's face.
Well, it is my thoughts that when you look at Joe Biden and he talks about Trump, you can just see the hatred in him. You can see the veins in his neck stand out. He truly hates President Trump.
No, I don't think it's a hatred of Trump so much, Keith. I think it's a hatred of being found out. I think it's a hatred of knowing that he kind of stepped in it again, and this is a little mess of doo-doo that Joe Biden might not get out of.
Well, I think he need to start looking for his horse so he can ride off into the sunset.
We'll see what we will see. Thank you very much, Keith. I appreciate it. God bless you, man. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
All right. Yeah, I'm going to be talking to Richard Manning, about this next hour, and it's absolutely a big story as to the Ukrainian connection with Hunter Biden and businesses, and we're not talking millions or thousands, we're talking billions with a B, and this thing could be the knife in the back, if you will, to Joe Biden's campaign. And then on the other hand, you have a surge in the polls, and I would really love a lady to call me right now, please. This is really important. Ladies, do you find anything about Elizabeth Warren at all enticing to vote for her in November? This woman, Elizabeth Warren, scares me with her absolute off-the-wall statements, her flailing her arms and trying to dance. Please, do not try to dance, Elizabeth. And the lies and the perpetration of lies and innuendos. Wow, is that really the best, along with Bernie and Biden, that the Democrats can have and put forward? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let's not forget our friends at Patterson's on East Main in Burley. Patterson's with all the TVs. Patterson's with all the home theater systems. Patterson's with all the video surveillance cameras. Patterson's with all the car stereos and speakers and complete sound systems. My goodness, they are your electronics headquarters. What are you waiting for? Get in there today. They're open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6 at Patterson's Electronics right there on 421 East Main in Burley. Nice people. Curtis and Lorena and the staff serving you. Call them, 678-6997. Patterson's on 421 East Main in Burley. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
The simple answer is no.
Okay, explain your answer just a little bit more, if you would.
Okay, well, let's go back to when she says, oh, I'm Native American, and used that to get into colleges and get jobs and blah, blah, blah. And then when she found out she wasn't, then she was sorry. In my book, sorry is a word, no action. So she needs to pay reparations to the colleges and to the people who didn't get the job because she did. And, I don't even know where to go with her.
Let me ask you this, though. You've always been a really good listener, and you're sharp. You understand what's going on. What about, and I just don't think the media has done one doggone thing to put questions in front of these potential candidates and really pin them down with answers, i.e., let me explain that. Regarding green energy, has you heard any media person say, okay, so you want to do with automobiles? Would you please tell us how you're going to get goods and services distributed to the distribution points, and how are the consumers going to go and buy them? Have you ever heard any sensible question like that ever posed to these people?
No, it's just kind of like, it's literally like the guy that drives the electric car, and you say, well, where do you get your electricity from? Well, the wall.
Yeah. Yeah.
They don't think beyond that second. They don't have a vision. I saw a college professor, I think it was, that did a analogy on immigration. He was using marbles and beakers and stuff like this. And they need to do that with the money that we're going to take out of the taxpayers. Say, this is how many marbles we have to deal with. This is how many we have to work with. Okay, now we're going to put, we need this many to do, everybody gets free insurance, and this many to do this, and this many to do that. Oh, crap, we ran out of marbles a long time ago.
Yeah, but that's indicative of talking about the Democratic Party as, in general, they've all lost their marbles.
You got that right. Did they ever have it?
Have a good day. Thank you so much.
You too. God
Appreciate
bless.
it. I like that lady. Time for the weather, and the weather brought to you by Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. Oh, they are so involved in the community, and they are so involved in your hearing health. That's right. As Southern Idaho's only privately owned hearing health clinic, I urge you to get a hold of them. They're right behind Minidoka Hospital, across from the emergency room, and waiting to serve you with your hearing problems. Absolutely don't put it off. Tell them I sent you. Call 312-0957. That number again, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
And good morning as we saddle up for another week on this Monday. Time for your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. For today, expecting mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be around 72. Then for tonight, mostly clear. Lows of 44. A little bit of a breeze going to be coming in on Tuesday. Looking for sunshine and a high of 71. Mostly clear for Tuesday night and breezy. Lows of 44. Then for Wednesday, sunshine, a high of 70. Maybe a chance of some showers moving in on Thursday and Friday. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
Scotty, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And the weather brought to you by some wonderful people that really care about your hearing health. They help me. Let them help you. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. And the number to call to make an appointment, 312-0957. Wow. Did you hear what happened to Beto O'Rourke at one of his rallies a couple of days ago? I'm chuckling because I thought it was so great. And this woman that was involved in this was so articulate. Very, very, very smart, sharp gal. Anyway, Beto was standing up there and he was railing about gun control and everything else, because you'll know that in the last debate, he was asked about confiscation of guns and he didn't hesitate. And for those that have lily-like ears, please do not be offended. This isn't me talking. It's a direct quote from Mr. Beto O'Rourke. Hell yes, we'll confiscate those guns. Well, this woman in the audience had the microphone to ask him a question, and she said, hell no, you won't. I'm a mother of 4, and I will protect my family and my home, and you, Mr. O'Rourke, will not take my guns. And I guess old Beto kind of got set back on his hip pockets that say Wrangler, and didn't know where to go with that one. And then she appeared the next day on newscast because she absolutely was adamant. No, I am absolutely a God-fearing, crime-fearing American that's going to protect me, my family, and my house. Don't come to my door and try to confiscate anything. She was really good. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Barry Equipment and Rental, Sales, Service, and Parts. And, of course, they've got three locations to serve you. 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, 465 Addison Avenue West in Twin, and the Nampa location for all the big dudes, all the equipment you need for the lifting and the digging and the pushing and the carrying, all the Doosan wheel loaders and the excavators and all the bobcats, all the different sizes, all the equipment to get the job done. Yeah, I tell you, I guarantee they've got financing, great financing programs and great rental rates. You better check on it today. Barry Equipment and Rental in Burley, Twin Falls, and Nampa. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Morning, Zeb. Beto O'Rourke is an idiot. And to go along with that, here's something that during World War II, after Pearl Harbor was attacked, we had enough of our military people stationed around. There wasn't really much here on the mainland in the U.S. to protect us. The Emperor of Japan, and correct me if I'm wrong, if any knows any different, said the reason why at the end of the war they didn't attack is because he knew from East Coast to West Coast, or West Coast to East Coast, behind every blade of grass would be a rifle. Mm-hmm. There's hunters galore here. Now, I don't remember what year it was, but in Wisconsin alone, there was over 600,000 people registered to go hunting that year alone.
Right.
And there's been many more in many states and many areas. So if he thinks, for 1 second, and it probably was just saying something just to get a vote, because most politicians do that. But if anybody thinks for 1 second they're going to disarm us, that's going to be sparking another civil war, and that might turn into World War III, and it would be a bigger mess than they have intelligence in their shoelaces.
I don't think, Riley, I don't think they care, and I don't think they realize how big a problem they would have on their hands. The American public, I think, in general, and bear with me on this, we hear the negativity every day about those that want to strike the Second Amendment. We hear about those that want to strike the First Amendment. But we still are talking about minority numbers. The unvocal majority hasn't yet stepped up to the plate and swung the big Hillary Bradsby baseball bat and hit a home run. But that time is coming, because I believe sooner or later, like you've said, the American public is going to get sick of these crazies, and they're going to say, that's it, you're out of here.
Well, yeah, we're the majority. We keep our mouths shut, because what's the use of stirring the crap pot if you don't want it on you?
Yeah.
But the minority in other things, in other parts of our life, such as the green energy crap or whatever, they're stirring the pot and raising heck, and they got things their way, even though they're the minority. You know, people can't wear whatever hat they want wherever they want because it might offend somebody. Well, they're the minority. Who cares? You know, we don't want to offend people, but if you're offended, the only person who can make you offended is yourself.
Yeah, but when you talk about the slogan, that Trump had and still has, quite frankly, I give credit to his administration, make America great again. I mean, what in the world, what kind of a lowlife, what kind of a person that doesn't have a life and they just depend on rucking manure for their daily activity to stir things up, what kind of a person could be against that slogan, Make America Great Again? How could you find that offensive?
I don't have a clue, because it doesn't, the way it was stated, the way it's stated and the way it is made, it conforms to anybody's ideology, I guess you could say. It doesn't matter what you feel or what you think versus what I feel or what I think. The whole point is, make America great.
Absolutely.
It has nothing to do with the right or the left. It is talking about America.
Absolutely.
The United States of America as a whole.
Absolutely.
Great.
Thanks, Riley.
It's kind of mind-boggling.
I got to run, but thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Talk to you later, bye.
You know, I just absolutely am astounded by this, because make America great again. We've had our ups and we've had our downs, but we've always been able to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps and become a better nation. Make America great again. And then these absolute loons on the left are trying to turn that into a racist statement. Those absolute loons on the left are trying to turn it into something that is evil and sinister. What is the matter with us for even giving them any credence, or for that sake, the news media even putting them on the news? Make America great again. I love it, and I'm going to keep using it. Or keep America great. Absolutely. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell. You know, I saw that interaction between Beto O'Rourke and that mother of four. Yay for her. You know, I wouldn't mind so much them screaming and yelling their ilk if they would abide by the same laws. They all have bodyguards. They have guns. And you don't think that they have AR-15s in their arsenal?
Yeah, here's the thing. That mother of four, I'm assuming that the father or the husband is not in the picture, and she made it well known that you come messing around my property and look out. You're not taking my gun. That's the way it's going to be. And I have total respect for that, Donna, because I think the Second Amendment, whether it's the right to bear arms per se or the right to protect yourself, nobody in government has a right to take that apart and throw it on the rug.
Oh, I'm right there with you, yeah. And like I said, kudos to her for standing up to these souls. You know, most people won't stand up and say anything against them.
That's right.
And that's part of the reason why we have the problem we have with them.
Amen. Couldn't have said it any better. God bless you, and go wake up George. Thank you.
Okay, I'll do it. Have a good day, Zeb.
All right, thank you. Oh, and don't forget, great big fall tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You can save $152 up to $152 on a select set of 4 light truck and SUV tires like the Terramax HT or the Backcountry All-Terrain. You better get in there today and check it out. Great, great tire buys in their fall tire sale because they've been doing the right thing since 1952. Outstanding people with outstanding service. The best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this. If you're going hunting, hey, you better stop in there first. You better believe it. See Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. Nobody better. Your Magic Valley. Les Schwab Tire Centers, the best. Wow, thank you for all your calls this morning. By the way, congratulations to Boise State University moving up to number 15 in the coaches poll. Just came out this morning, as a matter of fact. Moved from 20th in the nation, now up to 15, undefeated. Boise State University, our congratulations to them. Coming up next hour, Richard Manning. We're really going to get into this deal about the Ukraine with Richard, and he'll have the answers. And then at 9:30, we're going to have Roger Simon talking about his new book. Don't go away, Zeb at the Ranch. We're going to send it over to Wheels for a couple of minutes. We'll be back in 7. And a good morning on Monday, September 23rd. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations having a great big, huge fall tire sale. You better stop in and see them today. Along with some of our great advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Beautiful place for seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, Old Wheels has got this good word for Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
Oh, you need a dumpster, do you, Bunky? You're cleaning out the basement, you're cleaning out the garage, you're just cleaning out everything. Well, in my case, they better have a flatbed to bring about 3 of them. Clean out my office. Anyway, get a hold of Western Waste Services. They've got dumpsters in various sizes. They'll bring them by, drop it off, you fill it up, they'll come and get it. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them today at 734-6969. Also want to urge you to remember some really, really nice people, and that's, of course, at Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert with Joel Heward, his family, and his staff serving you and your family. When there's the passing of a loved one, don't forget they always provide the families they serve with the best possible support and comfort, and always upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Please remember the number, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary in Rupert, and Joel Heward also serving you and your family at Morrison Payne Funeral Home on East Main in Burley. Let's go right to the phone line because I cannot wait to ask this man, and he has the knowledge and he has the ability to lay it out for us as to what's really going on. You can trust him, and that's, of course, the president of Americans for Limited Government, a very good friend of this program, Richard Manning. Rick, good morning, sir. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing great. How are you?
Rick, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I want to get right to this. There's 2 very important issues I want you to discuss this morning on the program with your ability to lay it out. First of all, Biden Biden Jr., like Hunter Biden, President Trump, the president of Ukraine, big money, firings. What in the world is going on with this story that all Americans should be concerned about?
Well, it's a big story, but the big story is really something different than what the left is all up in arms about. But let me just give your listeners the background. When Joe Biden was vice president, there was a deal that was made in the Ukraine that his son Hunter Biden was involved in. Hunter Biden made a lot of money in this deal. There was a prosecutor in the Ukraine who was investigating the deal because of the corruption involved. Joe Biden had bragged that he had made calls about the deal and specifically to the Ukrainian president to put the prosecutor to freeze the prosecutor, fire the prosecutor, so they wouldn't be able to investigate his son's enrichment based upon a foreign deal that was actually partially arranged by Joe Biden. So that's been a scandal for a while, but nobody cared about it. But apparently now there is a whistleblower, and let me just be clear. The person who allegedly has come forward is not somebody with any first-hand knowledge of anything that occurred. It's somebody who is one of the deep state rats who is determined to take down this president, who said, I heard this might have happened. President Trump made a phone call to the Ukraine and said, feel free to go forward with the prosecution, prosecution of Hunter Biden, and perhaps Joe Biden in that regard. Well, let me just be clear. Joe Biden has set U.S. policy. He had set his U.S. policy to the Ukrainians was, if you go ahead with this prosecution, you are our enemy. And the Ukrainians are extremely dependent upon the U.S. because we are the ones standing between them and Putin taking back territory in the Ukraine. So the Ukrainians were between a rock and a hard place. And so Biden says, knock down, don't prosecute my kid, don't look at this. They have no choice but to do it. Well, Trump has every right to say, well, that's not our policy anymore. We're not following the policy of telling you how to enforce your laws and whether or not you should investigate certain transactions. That's perfectly legitimate. And what everybody should be worked up over is the fact that the sitting vice president of the United States, Joe Biden, enriched on a number of deals, worked to enrich his kid both in China and the Ukraine, and enrich his family. That's what people should be upset about. But instead, they're upset because the president reversed the U.S. policy about whether or not a prosecution should be pursued if the laws of the Ukraine were violated. All based upon hearsay from somebody who wasn't in the room, and given the fact we know how the intelligence community has been working, probably has bad intentions based upon partisan purposes. So that's what this is about, and in fact, I don't think Joe Biden really wants this he wants to have Donald Trump sullied. But the fact they're going to this level tells you that Elizabeth Warren is going to be the Democratic nominee, not Joe Biden, because they're going to sacrifice Joe Biden on this investigation and attempt to sully Trump.
Let me ask you this question, and it may be minuscule of importance, but it really hit home to me about whether his memory is gone or whether he's a consistent liar. When asked very poignantly by Fox News reporter Peter Doocy over the weekend, have you ever had conversations with your son regarding the money and the business dealings with the Ukraine, he got really upset, Biden did, and said, no, I've never talked to him about it. But there are tapes and videos proving that Biden is a liar.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if it's memory or not. I know that Joe Biden had a long history of stealing other people's writings. Neil Kennedy, when he was running for president back when he was a lot younger, some of the stuff he wrote was direct lift from the Labor Party of Great Britain, Neil Kinnock's writings. So he was lifting his speeches well before he was losing his memory. So you can derive whatever you want to derive from that.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. With this case and with what the Democrats are trying to do to twist this like a pretzel, to use this as a nail in the coffin of President Trump for impeachment, how far do you think this thing's going to go before all of a sudden it blows up in somebody's face?
Well, the Democrats aren't really worried about truth, and so they are determined that they're going to move forward with something to impeach President Trump. And so, and this fits into the Russia narrative, even though, as ironic as it might seem, the Ukrainian government, really the whole entire Russia thing comes from the Ukraine, and it's really weird. But we have a Democratic Party that is desperate to do anything they can to get rid of Trump. Their base wants impeachment. The people as a whole don't want impeachment. And they are now trying to create the justification for impeachment. And they're willing allies in the media. And I'm not going to call them the mainstream media because they're not mainstream. The left-wing media, the willing allies in left-wing media are going to promote it as much as they can. It is really sad and pathetic that they have absolutely no capacity to actually come forward with policies that anybody would want. And they hope to impose a pie-in-the-sky kind of socialist utilitarian country, set of demands that destroys our economy. And the only way they know that they can get that done is if they wound the president mortally, from a political standpoint, through this nonstop impeachment garbage. Mm-hmm. And I've never come across a time in my life when people are as determined to win at all costs as we see the Democrats today. And I think it's because they think they have an opportunity to put a socialist paradise, as they would call it, in place and to fundamentally transform the nation. And they were shocked that Hillary Clinton wasn't able to, didn't win and couldn't do it. And so they've been trying to take down Trump ever since because he's the stumbling block. And quite honestly, he's the last stumbling block because if you look at the record of the 2012 Republican nominee, who is basically on board with the left on virtually everything, you and I can sit here and say, man, we really, in some respects, by Obama winning, we dodged a huge bullet, because if Romney had been the president, it would have been the same environmental, the same stuff that we're seeing now, only it would have been perceived as being from Republican hands, and there'd be no stopping it.
Yeah. You know, I'm going to go back to some real basic question here, Rick. And again, with your expertise, you can lay this out for us. I was going to be, years ago before I saw the light, a lawyer. And fortunately, I saw the light and I changed in college. But how can you impeach or threaten impeachment of any sitting president or politician without having grounds that are proven for the impeachment process? There are no grounds. What do you do then? They're just blowing smoke.
Impeachment's a political process. Now, the act of the House impeaching is a simple majority. It is it's a political decision. The trial side of it is in the Senate, and that's where you actually have to make a case.
Right.
And so the way the Constitution is set up, I think they anticipated that this kind of impeachment stuff would happen quite a bit as part of the checks and balances on the executive branch. Historically, that hasn't been the case, but it is a weapon that the Democrats have been itching to use ever since Bill Clinton was impeached, when he couldn't define the word "is." So it's so they've been itching to use it since Clinton was impeached.
Right.
This is their opportunity.
Okay, I want to get into.
I find it repulsive what they're doing. I find it horrific what they're doing, but they are, in fact, they are willing to do everything in their power to destroy this country in order to gain control of the levers of power, so they can impose their will on the American people.
And
that's what they're trying to do. And there's no nice way to put it.
Absolutely. And that story, the way you ended it, dovetails into my next question to have you answer. Over the weekend, I was not shocked, but I was dismayed and, quite frankly, worried about the millions of young people, mostly young people, that are being led by the nose by the climate change crazies, and kids being excused from school to go protest something they know nothing about, and some of the asinine statements that were made about climate change, and we're all going to burn up and everything else. I want you to comment on this because I think this is getting completely out of control and anywhere removed from common sense.
Oh, I think it's been removed from common sense a long time ago. Zeb, it's anytime you have George Soros pushing around a 15, 16-year-old girl from somewhere in Norway, somewhere in the northern European countries, who's going to come around and lecture everybody about how, her life is going to be destroyed based upon our selfishness. And for us we need to follow the science. It's I'm sorry, I'm always skeptical of that. It is a pretty tried and true technique, but it's a failure. But it is, we've been teaching these kids this in the schools. I mean, you don't have religion in schools, you have environmentalism in schools. Environmentalism has replaced any semblance of religion in schools. And as a result, you have it becomes kind of a writ of faith amongst young people that this is true. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It doesn't matter if if the science is largely non-verifiable and non-reproducible. It doesn't matter. Facts don't matter. The kids have been scared that they are going to all die in a burned-up planet because of global warming. And every time they see a hurricane, they're told, "Oh, it's global warming." Every time they see a fire in the West, it's global warming, and they don't have any kind of scope of knowledge to know any different. And then you have the school systems allowing them to go out and protest. And let's face it, the ones who actually care are going to go out and be vigorous about it. But most kids, if you say, "Gee whiz, you get out of school if you go down here and goof around," well, guess what? Most kids are going to get out of school. So in some respects, it's a manipulation by the education associations around the country to try to build an environment and build a consensus. And the left has been desperately seeking a renewal of the spirit of the 1960s, where protest against the government in Vietnam was their highlight of their lives because they're now old, and they're trying to relive their youth by creating this similar environment. And they're doing it, and they're trying to do it artificially through this climate change stuff. And quite honestly, I'm not going to. I don't think any of us know what the environment is going to be like 100 years from now, because I can't find weathermen who can tell me what the environment's going to be like 3 days from now. So I don't trust them for 100 years if I can't trust them for 3 days.
Absolutely.
But there's a lot of. I'm going to finish with this one point. I was watching some videos this weekend on climate change, and there was one video that was put up that was from 1969. Leonard Nimoy narrated it. Spock narrated it. The science officer on the Starship Enterprise. Mm-hmm. And so Spock's narrating it. He doesn't have his ears on, but and he's sitting there talking about climate, how it's going to be so much colder, and the climate, how we're going to end up in a new ice age, and it's already happening. And he interviews this guy up on an island up in the Arctic, and his doctor gets on and he's talking about how it's already started. We're already in the middle of the new ice age, and blah 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 blah. Okay, real dramatic stuff, and we're all going to freeze, and it's terrible. So you've got that. Then I watched another video that was from 2018, and it was the same island. I was interested in what happened on Baffin Island. So I go to click on this video. It's the same guy from 40 years ago who talked about how we were already in an ice age, is now talking about how the ice sheets and Baffin Island are melting and it's a disaster, and oh my gosh. Same guy. He was a lot older, but same guy. So let's say these guys don't know. If they don't know, we shouldn't change our entire economy to dictate it.
Absolutely. One final thought real quick. I've got 3 minutes left, Rick. Beto O'Rourke with the comment, hell yes, I'm going to take your guns. But a young woman, mother of 4, and she said, hell no, you're not. She stood right up to him and said, I'm going to protect me, my family, and my house. What did you think about that woman? Did you happen to catch her on TV? She was interviewed.
I did, and she was. Listen, that was America. That's America, okay? Individuals standing up and telling those who would purport to be their betters, back off. And it was probably you could have 100 guys standing around in 100 orange saying the same thing, and it would have been dismissed, but a young mother saying, basically saying, you're not going to do this, that's America. And it's how America feels. And ultimately, it's why I'm very concerned about a lot of the attacks on the National Rifle Association. I know a lot of people are concerned about what's been happening, but let me just as a former NRA lobbyist for 9 years, let me just tell you, and your listeners, a simple thing. I don't know what's happened organizationally there in terms of any of the stuff that's been written about. What I do know is this. The attempt to weaken the NRA out of the New York Attorney General's office is designed to do one thing, to make it so Beto O'Rourke wins. And I don't know what ultimately, like it or not, right now at this point in history, NRA is the only organization that is able to stand up and defend gun rights comprehensively across the nation. And while I don't always agree with stuff they do, they are the only ones with the strength to do it. And that strength comes from your listeners who belong and listen to what the NRA has to say. And I would encourage them not to be fooled into saying, gee, they're playing other games, when in fact what they're really trying to do at their heart is defend freedom in America. NRA will get reformed internally if it needs to be, but gosh, we can't run away from the only group that has the power to defend the Second Amendment and translate that woman standing in front of Beto O'Rourke into a national movement that tells Elizabeth Warren and Kamala Harris, no, you won't.
Absolutely. So well stated, as with all the topics this morning, my friend, President of Americans for Limited Government, Rick Manning. I say it every week and I mean it. God bless you, man, and thank you for your time on the program. See you next Monday.
Great.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Always appreciate having him on the program. Thank you very much. Let me see. Quickly, I want to remind you about our friends over to Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. The reason I'm kind of holding back here a little bit, I knocked everything on the floor. Oh, here we go. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, 459 Overland in Burley, and they've got window coverings on sale, blind shutters, the roller shades, they're up, they're down, and many more. 30% off on all the window coverings. You better stop in and check it out. And they're having special pricing right now on floor coverings. And you need a new mattress? Well, they're having a closeout on some of the great mattresses right there at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and and more. They're located at 459 Overland in Burley, and believe me, Jeff and the rest of the folks, they can help you with all your furniture needs. You know, it's time to comfortize and beautify your home for the fall and winter. Stop in. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More in Burley. Really, really good people. When you talk about really, really, really good people, also, I've got to include some top-notch friends of mine, and they are my friends, over at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. I absolutely swear by them. I mean this. They've helped me with my leg and the problems I've had, and they can help you. I know they can. With the aching and the pain and the recuperation from surgeries or accidents, please get a hold of them today. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. And the number to call for an appointment, 678-1191. I'll be there this afternoon at 1 o'clock again at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, the best serving you. Stop in and see them today. Want to also remind you that, yes, Thursday this week is Lunch Bunch, and we're going to be over at Denny's Restaurant at 11:30 on Thursday, and Denny's, of course, America's Diner. And we want to say thank you to all of our gift certificate sponsors: Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's, all of them. Thank you so much. Please join our family of friends at, of course, Denny's Restaurant this Thursday for Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We will see you there. Another great place to say we'll see you there is Let's Ride. Oh, my. Look outside. Now, just look outside. Look at that sunshine, blue sky. Woo, you better get on a four-wheeler or a side-by-side and head for the hills. Man, oh, man, oh, man, enjoy the great scenic of Idaho. It's out there for you to enjoy. Stop over to Let's Ride. 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. Absolutely, they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And they've got great, great pricing right now on the closeouts for the 2019s because the new 2020 models are coming in. You better stop in, save money, and get ready to enjoy a lot of fun outside with Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World, where the fun is sold. Well, let's go to the phone line right now. I have never had the honor of having this gentleman come on my program prior to this, and I got to admit I was a little bit inquisitive about his book called The Goat. And the cover of his book with the title, The Goat and a Tennis Racket, I didn't quite understand the correlation there, so let's find out more. Good morning, Roger Simon. How are you?
I'm fine. The correlation isn't that complicated. As you may know, the word goat has two meanings these days. One is Billy Goat Gruff. You know that one. The other one, in all of sports, is G.O.A.T., the greatest of all time. And that's the correlation with tennis. Because, as you know, in tennis, there's a big battle for who's the greatest of all time at the moment, between Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal. But in my novel, there's another player involved in that, an American named Jay Reynolds. And he comes out of nowhere to compete with these guys. But if you read the book, you'll find it's not quite out of nowhere. There's a story involved in this that's very funny, sometimes sad, and I hope at the end meaningful, particularly to conservatives.
Let me ask you this, Roger, and I'm going to ask my engineer to boost him quite a bit when he's speaking, please, because the line with the cell phone or whatever is not very good. Roger, you have been involved in the media for a long, long time, the co-founder of PJ Media, and you've had a chance to really study politics and study what's going on with various personalities. I want to get back to the book in a minute, but I want to ask you about where are we right now politically in this United States? I've never seen so much turmoil and hatred as there is right now. What are your thoughts?
I'm completely in agreement with yours at the moment. I've never seen anything like it either, and I'm not young. It's a terrible thing to see. And I don't see the way out of it quite easily because it's so embedded and there's so much caused by mainstream media that have, essentially turned into a propaganda outlet and changed their approach. Even the New York Times, which was always a liberal paper, has now become essentially a progressive media propaganda sheet, not caring whether what they write is true or not, as long as it attacks the current administration. And I think that is creating a situation that is untenable, and it is seconded by our educational system, which is equally biased left. So there's no middle ground that people can talk on. When we founded PJ Media, which was then Pajamas Media back in '04, things were a little bit different. We were intending to make it a place where both sides could have a serious discussion with each other. But that disappeared within a year because the liberals wouldn't play. And now we are where we are, and not just PJ Media, but all of us. It's not good.
Well, I'm not a spring chicken either, Roger. As a matter of fact, I'm an old man, and I can remember politics from days gone by with the Hubert Humphreys and with the Kennedy family, and I can remember the Bill Proxmires, and I can remember all the Barry Goldwater issues, etc. But they could argue like the Dickens during the daytime and maybe go out and have a cold adult beverage at 6:30 that night, but it's not like that anymore.
No, it's over. And we're like living in two separate societies. It cuts across so many things. I mean, for people like me in the arts, I have two hats. I write political opinion, but I also am a novelist and a screenwriter. We have to play in a wholly different field. I mean, it's like I used to write for Hollywood. I'm an Academy Award-nominated screenwriter. They won't have me now. And the reasons are entirely political. They had nothing to do. I have not become senile, I can assure you. And people who read The GOAT will realize that.
Well, give us a little gist of, without giving too much of the story, but give us a little gist of The GOAT, your book called The GOAT, so that you can kind of tantalize my wanting to go read it.
Okay, well, let's go. Anyway, a guy in his 70s, a retired screenwriter, sort of like the person talking, named Dan Gelber, has finally, a lifetime tennis player of the weekend sort, has made it finally in his 70s to the finals of the seniors tournament at his club. But, as luck would have it, in game one, his back goes out something fierce. He's taken to the emergency at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in L.A. The doctor says, oh, no, this is very bad. We have to operate. But a woman from India or Nepal or somewhere in the corner says, do not do operation. Always makes worse. Go see my cousin Gambo in Valley. He fixed up. Of course, it's a Western guy, right? So he dismisses this and takes the operation, but the woman's right. It's a disaster. He can hardly move. He feels like his life is over. And he finally goes out to the valley to a mini mall in the middle of nowhere, where he meets Gambo, who is from the Himalayas, and Gambo starts to give him herbs from the Himalayas and teas, and he starts to get younger. And he goes back to his tennis club, and the ladies all say, my, damn, looking good there, guy. But then he goes back to Gambo and says, who are you, Mephistopheles? What's the deal here? But I won't go on from here.
I see.
Suffice it to say, someone comes out to play Nadal at the French Open, and Federer at Wimbledon. I'm not going to tell you what happens, but in an all similar stories where you get a second life, you have to pay for it.
Absolutely. The book is called The GOAT, written by Roger Simon. Roger, I've got to ask you this. As a screenwriter and also author, and you mentioned Hollywood, what is, in your opinion, the status of Hollywood today? I know a lot of Hollywood actors. I've been in 6 motion pictures myself. But the trend towards leftist has really been more voracious over the last couple of years, and it's hard to be a conservative in Hollywood. How bad is it?
It's bad. Yeah, here's one of the interesting things about it. As the trend has gone left, it's not amazing. In fact, that Hollywood has become less important. I mean, they're all turning up on Twitter every day. They're turning up on Facebook. They're calling Trump Hitler. They're doing all this stupid stuff to get attention that they're not getting anymore. I mean, the truth of the matter is there's a double-edged sword to everything. And, you know, one of the real problems I've just talked about on a few radio shows now, getting a lot of people agreeing with me, is some of the fault here is on the conservative side, because we should be building our own Hollywood, except that the conservative financiers are not getting behind it. They get behind donating to the Philharmonic, but Beethoven doesn't need any help at this point, although we love him. What we need is people backing contemporary art that is least centrist, not wacko left-wing. But, you know, it isn't happening on any grand scale yet, but maybe it will.
Let me ask you this, as a screenwriter, and this is my own personal preference. I'm going to jump in with this because I'm interested in your opinion on this. The day of the Western has gone by the wayside, unfortunately, and the last good one that was made, I think, was like Lonesome Dove and some others that really had a realistic trend. Why are Westerns that would be appealing to the whole family, why are they gone maybe forever?
Well, nothing's forever. But I think that it's part of the parcel of the same attitude, because Westerns were inherently a conservative form, really. Films like Red River and so forth, great ones, the Howard Hawks Westerns and the John Ford Westerns, they were very pro-American. They were very, even when they were pro-Indian, they were pro-American. So it's like, these people don't want to make that stuff anymore because they're embarrassed by it somehow, or it doesn't meet their narrative. And I think this goes back to my other point. If you want to see Westerns, among other forms, start to build those other companies that make them, because the audience, as you say, the audience is there. I mean, it's not like there's no audience. There's a tremendous audience.
Mm-hmm.
In films like The Blind Side and Lone Survivor were tremendous hits.
You know, I want to ask you about your book again in the time remaining here this morning, The Goat. When people buy the book, read the book, and close the cover for the last time, what do you want them to take away from the book?
Oh, that's a big question. I will answer in a vague way because I want them to read the book and experience that. But the big issue in this book is what's the most important thing in life. I'll leave it there.
Okay.
That's what makes it actually, I believe, a book that will appeal to conservatives, because I think they'll applaud the ending. But I'm not going to reveal more than that because I want them to read it, and I want them to go on Amazon, buy it, and leave a review, because I think there's nothing more interesting for authors than the reviews on Amazon of their books, because these come from actual readers, not paid book reviews.
Absolutely. Now, what about the purchase of the book? How do they obtain a copy?
Well, right now on Amazon, because it's available in 3 editions on Amazon right now, on the Kindle edition, the paperback edition, and the hardcover edition. And there will be, within, I think, 6 weeks or so, an audio book, if that's what you like.
All right. One final thought. If you were to sit down and say, gee, I don't know what I'm going to write about for my next book, why don't you just pick up the newspaper and talk about Biden or the Ukraine or Trump? I mean, you sound like you could really put together an interesting book deal.
Well, I've got, yeah, I do have an idea, and I don't really like to talk about it. It's close to that, believe it or not, and I'm not going to talk about it because I think it jinxes you. Also, what it does is a book, or whether I do it as a screenplay or a book, takes a long time, and I'll come back on your show when I'm near finished.
I'll look forward to it. Ladies and gentlemen,
I've had the experience, as have a lot of people in my shoes, of saying you want to do something, and they're not doing it because it didn't work for a variety of reasons, and you can just get egg on your face.
Absolutely. The author of the new novel, The Goat, and the co-founder of PJ Media. Very nice, man. Roger Simon, I'm going to have you back on the program. God bless you, man. Keep going. I appreciate it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Interesting. I got to get a copy of that. It sounds like an interesting novel, and it's called The Goat. And the cover is what intrigued me when I saw this for the first time. Every day I get little information sheets about this guest, that guest, and what they want to talk about, their books or their politics or whatever the case might be. And here comes this picture of a tennis racket on green turf, and inside the tennis racket, the word's called the GOAT. And it really intrigued me, and so therefore I gave him a call and see if he wanted to come on the program, and he did. Roger Simon, and the book called The GOAT. Let's get to the weather right now, and the weather brought to you by some really, really good friends of ours and yours, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, and they've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cassia area for well over 50 years. The very, very best of tax return preparation, tax planning, retirement planning, financial statement preparation. You know, for you, your family, and your business, I urge you to get a hold of them today. They have offices in Burley and Rupert, and the locations are 1710 Overland Avenue in Burley, 620 Fifth Street in Rupert. They know and can help you. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Scotty with the weather.
And good morning as we saddle up for another week on this Monday. Time for your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. For today, expecting mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be around 72. Then for tonight, mostly clear. Lows of 44. A little bit of a breeze going to be coming in on Tuesday. Looking for sunshine and a high of 71. Mostly clear for Tuesday night and breezy. Lows of 44. Then for Wednesday, sunshine, a high of 70. Maybe a chance of some showers moving in on Thursday and Friday. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
Thank you very much, Scotty, and brought to you by the best of providing accounting services to you, your family, and your business. I urge you to get a hold of them today. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, with offices in Burley and Rupert, bringing you the weather for this hour. I've got time for your calls and your comments on any of the stories that we've talked about so far this morning. And if you want something else that you want to chew on a little bit this morning, and we are going to take this call first. Good morning, caller. You are on the air. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Zeb. Saturday I was up at Magic Mountain, and the owner is a friend of mine. He's a very good man, and I don't know if you know him, but if you ever get a chance, he's as nice a guy as you'll ever want to meet. And he was telling me about how he wants to try to improve things at Magic Mountain, and he's had a master plan on the board for 13 years or something like that. And he says that the Forest Service is just, they literally do not want you to do anything, ever. They just would soon you leave and go home and stay home. They don't want you on the land. They don't want you out anywhere unless you're like-minded. 13 years they've been holding him up to try to get a master plan because he wants to improve things up there. And so the same situation is up in the Boise National Forest above Anderson Ranch Reservoir, where my granddaughter drowned this year. And there's a log jam up there, and I've spoke to various people about this log jam. It's been in there, and it's an absolute, they call it the graveyard. And it's true. I lost my granddaughter in this thing, and the lady told me, she says, the head of the Boise National Forest was so cold-hearted that you could not believe it. Well, this is the same statement that was made by the owner of Magic Mountain Saturday to me, and this is a different head of the Forest Service. The Forest Service is full of environmentalists. They have no intentions of grazing. They have no intentions of managing the forest in a logical way. They are, I don't know how we get them out of our lives, but they're no friend of ours.
Well, all I'm going to say is when they use the terminology, our public lands, that absolutely lends me to think, are you kidding? How dumb do you think we are? You have taken over our public lands, and you have discerned that you're going to lock us out. You're going to lock out any potential usage. You're going to lock out any potential benefit. You're going to lock everybody out of our public lands. And the American public has not yet become outraged enough to really say, wait a minute, back up, Jack. This is what we're going to do, and we have the power. We, the people, are going to control this, not you.
Well, that's exactly the problem. We did elect Donald Trump. We do have a new Secretary of the Interior. I don't know how many employees work for the Forest Service, and I don't know how many, I think that if you get a degree and you go to work for the Forest Service, there's probably questions that pigeonhole you into whether or not you believe in global warming, environmentalism. It's a political thing.
Mm-hmm.
It has nothing to do with loving the outdoors and loving the people that love the outdoors and saving it for future generations.
Oh, that's a bunch of bogus. Stop right there. Wait a minute. That line right there that you stated that has been used so many times is absolutely bogus. It's the biggest lie ever perpetrated to you, me, and the American public. Save it for future generations. They lock us out from seeing it, but they're going to save it for future generations. That's as big a bogus lie as I've ever heard.
Well, only if you are involved, of like-mindedness. Literally, the owner of Magic Mountain was so frustrated. He says, I'm just going to give up. And he said, I had plans, and we wanted to do things right and do it nice. He says, we get nothing but resistance. When somebody, a vandal, broke out the little lodge up at Magic Mountain,
mm-hmm.
somebody broke out the window with a rock, and he replaced maybe two of them. And he replaced them without asking. He was in trouble.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm going to tell you, Zeb, I study this stuff, and I know you do too. And like I said, I was up there. My grandson was up there with my daughter and her husband, my son-in-law. That's the reason I was up there. I rode up there on my bike. And I was just surrounded by, I could just tell you, man, if I was to have wore a MAGA hat, they wouldn't have beat me up, but they would have wanted to.
Randy, I'm so glad that you shared that story with me, because I'm going to try to get a hold of that man and try to have him come on my program. I've got another call waiting, so I'm going to take that.
You need to get to know him. You'd love him.
All right. Well, call me later. Call me later and give me that information if you would, please. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you. Caller, stand by. I'll be right with you, I promise. I want to remind everybody quickly about life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, and employee benefits. All for you at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. They really are dedicated and responsive to your needs. All you need to do is just make a call, and they're devoted to serving you and your needs. Now, please don't put it on the back burner. Please don't forget about it till next Tuesday and then forget about it again. Call them right now at 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, serving you, your family, and your business. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
Something a little off the beaten path is our freedoms are causing us to lose our freedoms.
Uh-huh.
And the reason I'm saying that is we've got people coming into this country. They're starting mosques all over, and not all of them are used for reasons of attacking us in the future, but some of them are going to be staging areas for future attacks against America. And these people have the freedom to run terrorist training camps in this country, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. And on top of that, if you and I went into North Korea or China or Russia, we would be under the looking glass from the whole time we're there. We'd be being followed for day and night in foreign countries.
Yeah.
And we're giving the enemies that are coming into this country all the freedoms that we enjoy. And we're going to lose them if we're not careful.
No, I totally agree with you. There's two words that I think are nothing more than hogwash or material that you'll find out in my little feedlot, and those two words are political correctness. Political correctness is going to kill us in the long run, and it's going to destroy our heritage and our culture. Political correctness is absolutely an insanity that is overtaking all of America right now. Oh, we can't do that. We can't step on their toes. Oh, we got to let them in here. Oh, we've got to let them do this. No, it's got to stop. Political correctness is going to be the end of America and our value system.
Boy, if we're not careful, we're going down the tubes in a hurry.
I couldn't agree more. My dear friend, God bless you. I hope all is well in your household. Thank you for your call.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you, Tony. Political correct. Let me tell you real quick about political correctness. I want to get the story in. I'm going to probably elaborate a little bit more tomorrow. HUD Secretary Ben Carson, great man, has accomplished so much in his lifetime. He is under fire by the left-wing loons, the lunatics on the left, because he believes and has said there are two genders. That's right. Biologically, that's what we all learned in high school, but it's been absolutely torn apart and disrupted and tied together in a wacky way right now to where we're supposed to accept like 47 or 48 different genders. That's absolutely ridiculous. And they are trying to destroy this man right now for saying what absolutely is the truth. There are only two genders, and the transgenders are all upset. As a matter of fact, they need to get back to realism, and women are the ones that are suffering right now because of this idiocy. I heard a story over the weekend that just sickened me, is that trans men dressed up as women are trying to get into women's shelters, and these poor women that are probably leaving massive problems, they're getting right into another problem, and it's about high time that we started caring for what's right and what's wrong. And this transgenderism is absolutely wrong. And with that, I will say we're going to run to the news right now from CBS. And we'll be back next hour with Dr. Wayne Farrell. And then at 10:30, Dr. Michael Busler talking about our economy and also how the Democrats are trying to almost wish upon us a recession. We're going to talk to him about that at 10:30. Don't miss it. Zeb at the Ranch, I'll be right back. Good morning, and I hope you're having the start of a great week right here on Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you with a great big, and this is really big, fall tire sale. Stop in and see them today. And don't forget some of our fine advertisers like Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation at 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, helping you get back to being you. And, of course, don't forget Greystone Crossing, Independent Senior Living, excuse me, at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. Seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, we're going to get right to it, as they say. We're going to have our next guest on the air. He is the author of The Boy Crisis, Why Our Boys Are Struggling and What We Can Do About It. I've had this gentleman on the program before. I look forward to having him on now. Dr. Warren Farrell, good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm still having to get him on because I had to call him on his landline.
Well, keep trying. Do you have the capability of putting him on now or in just a minute?
Just give me 1 minute.
All right, thank you very much. Once again, I want to remind you that Thursday, we're going to have Zeb's Lunch Bunch over at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner, at 11:30. And our thanks go out to the great staff, Thomas and everybody, Michelle, thank you. And, of course, all of our gift certificate donors, including Walmart, Smith's Foods, Hanson Mortuary, Stokes Groceries, Doug Martin, Denny's, all of this and more, Thursday this week at 11:30. 11:30. It is Lunch Bunch Day. We will see you at Denny's America's Diner. Let's check with Wheels and see if our guest is ready.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. Once again, we'll start all over from scratch and kind of roll our tires through the sand one more time. The author of the book called The Boy Crisis, Why Our Boys Are Struggling and What We Can Do About It, Dr. Warren Farrell. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning. Looking forward to our talking.
Dr. Farrell, I'm just going to go right to the chase on this morning and then go into what's going on in California and other school systems. But our boys today, not all in entirety, but too bad many in percentages, they've lost their respect, they've lost their want to try to be better, and we've got a real big problem on our hands. Am I wrong or am I right?
You are right, and that's literally why I called the book The Boy Crisis, saying that this is not just boys falling behind girls. It is a crisis in education where boys in almost all 56 of the largest developed nations are falling behind girls in every academic subject, including reading and writing, which are the two biggest predictors of success. Boys' IQs are falling. That means they're by 50%, not by 50%, sperm counts are falling by 50%, but the IQs are falling slightly. The life expectancy for the last 3 years of males has gone down. The suicide rate of boys and girls is equal at the age of 9, but between the ages of 10 and 14, boys' suicide rate becomes twice that of girls. Then between 15 and 19, 4 times that of girls, and between 20 and 25, it goes up again to about 5 times that of girls. And so and these are just 4 or 5 of more than 70 different ways that boys are falling significantly behind girls. And then on top of that, there's what you were just implying here. There's male shaming that's happening. Boys are assaulted with messages that their masculinity is toxic, that the future is female, that they're the oppressors and women are the oppressed, that it's women's time to speak up and boys' time to shut up, and that if a lot of boys, since the Boy Crisis book has come out, parents are saying to me, that their sons in 7th, 8th grade are learning that they have male privilege. They're part of a patriarchal system that was designed to benefit men at the expense of women, without any understanding that, wait a minute, men were prepared to be disposable in war. That's not male privilege, it's male sacrifice. And so the boys are learning that if they win, it's because they have male privilege, and if they lose, it's because they're losers. And #MeToo triggers shame when a boy recalls any time that he might have offended a woman, and he sometimes feels paralyzed that at the time if that time were exposed by a woman from only a woman's perspective, that all the positives they've done in their life could instantly become meaningless. And especially since #BelieveWomen means that their version is going to be derided as male-splaining. And so it's really a challenge. What you're saying is absolutely accurate. It's a much more challenging time than I had ever predicted before I started the research for the Boy Crisis.
Let me ask you this, and this is really a simplistic question, and it may even sound naive. But why are we as a society, why are we letting this happen?
It's not at all a simplistic question. It's really the most profound question, and I think there's a lot of different answers to any question of why. But I think that at the very deepest level, historically speaking, we have trained, every generation had its war. And we trained our sons to be disposable in those wars. So part of what you learned to do to become a man was to be willing to be disposable. In World War I, boys were not supposed to join World War I until the age of 18, but they tried to get in at the age of 13, 14, and 15, and they were often recruiters looked the other way because we needed more males to fight. And so you had boys from the ages of 13 on in war, hearing that their country needed them, and so therefore they wanted to serve. And boys have learned to boys have been very responsive historically to what I call social bribes. That is, social bribes to be called that you'll be called a hero if you're willing to die, and if you do die in the war, and so that your life is worth less than the legacy of being a hero and the reputation and the opinions that other people have of you. And if you didn't die in war, you risked your lives in the hazardous job in the workplace. And so when you have children that you fear you may lose, it's harder to psychologically attach to somebody that you may lose. It's like, a neighbor that says, let's be friends, but they're going to move out of town in a month or two. It's hard to engage. It's hard to invest the same amount in them. So historically speaking, the world and the nation, each nation has survived based on its ability to train its sons to be disposable in war and in the workplace. But what feminism has done is, rather than say, my God, thank you, men, for being willing to sacrifice your life so we could live better, so we could live longer, so we wouldn't be under Nazi rule. Feminism has taken that male sacrifice and framed it as male privilege, and that has left men feeling very unappreciated and boys feeling unappreciated, and therefore boys having a lack of purpose. And now, for the first time in history, we have not had such a need for a large number of men to go to war, and so we've learned to value our men by men who made sacrifices in war, but now we don't need them in such large numbers, and so we're valuing them less. And so the qualities that it took to fight in war were often qualities of disconnecting from your feelings, doing what you needed to do, being willing to be disposable. And so those qualities are not always the greatest qualities for being able to be successful in love and being successful with your family. And so the feminists have turned that and said, well, that's male toxicity. And yes, there is toxicity there, but that toxicity came as a result of the requirement of men to be men by making sacrifices. And so now we have a great opportunity, which is to move from the old heroic intelligence of the past, which was basically training for a short life, to health intelligence, which is training for a long life. And that's the transition we're making now that I found that almost nobody in the world understands. And I hope that's, that we have a kinder attitude toward helping our sons make that transition, and an honoring of men's contribution of the past and the present.
Absolutely. Dr. Farrell, we have a caller with a comment. Caller, I'm going to ask you to keep it brief. I've got time constraints. Go ahead, please.
Well, Doctor, we may not need them to fight a war, but we need them to come into the workforce and get some work done. The lack of, able-bodied people to work is becoming a crisis. If we're not careful, it's going to crash the economy, is what it's going to do. Hey, on Tucker Carlson, I've seen numerous reports where he said the testosterone level in males in America has dropped unbelievably over the last, 60, 40, 20 years. I forget what he said. And I was just wondering, is it because of, vaccinations, or, what is it? What's causing it? If you know, I'll hang out.
That's a good question. Doctor, go ahead and respond, please.
Yes. First of all, you're absolutely right. Jerome Powell, the Federal Reserve Chair, said that there's two crises that will be the greatest jeopardy to the American economy in the future. One is cyber warfare, and the second crisis is the boy crisis. And so the next question becomes, my research for the boy crisis found that this is not just an American crisis. This is, like, as I mentioned before, it's in all 56 developed nations. And the key word is developed. In developed nations, two things have happened. There's been enough success created that societies gave permission for two things. One is for divorce, and the other is for women to have children without being married. And the women having children without being married, not all of those children have problems, but the ones that have significant problems are the ones where the lack of marriage led to a lack of father being involved, or a father being involved among the women who did have children without being married, the smaller percentage that lived with a man at the time, that father remains in the child's life an average of only 4 years. And it's that group of children that have, especially boys, that have the significant problems. The second group is in children of divorce, where the father is minimally involved or not involved. And so what I discovered was that the boy crisis resides where fathers do not reside. Now, the connection between that and the unemployment that you and Tucker Carlson and I have talked about is very significant. So when boys don't have fathers, they often have less discipline. Dads are far more likely to enforce boundaries. So I'll back up on this for a second. Moms and dads tend to set boundaries very similarly. They both say something like, you can't have your ice cream until you finish your peas. Kids test boundaries very similarly. They both try to have as few peas as possible in order to get their ice cream as quickly as possible. The difference is between the way moms and dads enforce boundaries. Moms tend to sort of say, well, I'm not going to get into a big fight over a few peas. So, okay, sweetie, you tried to have a few peas, so all right, you can have your ice cream. Dads are much more likely to say, excuse me, we have a deal here. The deal is that you can't have your ice cream until you finish your peas. And the child might go, oh, you're so mean, Mommy's better than that. And Daddy will be more likely to say, you can continue to whine and complain, and then there'll be no ice cream tonight or tomorrow night. And the child with the father is more likely, therefore, to learn that I have to do what I need to do, finish the peas, in order to get what I want to have, the ice cream. Whereas with the mom, the child is much more likely to learn I can manipulate a better deal if I know what my mom's weak points are, and I argue those, and then I can persist on that because I have more energy than my mom has, and eventually I'll wear her down and she'll give in. And so what the data shows, what I found when I did the research for the boy crisis, is that the child with the father, only 15% are likely to have ADHD, whereas with the mom, more than 30% have ADHD. And if you look at the dynamic there, what the boy with the father learns is that in order to get that ice cream, I have to focus my attention on doing what I need to do. Mm-hmm. So that creates postponed gratification. The postponed gratification leads to the child being able to finish homework more effectively, to be successful in sports, and then that the father engages in things like roughhousing that teaches the children social skills. So the child raised with a significant amount of father tends to both have postponed gratification and also tends to have social skills that allows him to do well in school and get along well with kids, his peers in school. That keeps the boy and the girl engaged in school and much less likely to drop out. A boy that drops out of high school, more than 20% of those boys do not have any job at all when they're in their early 20s. And so boys without jobs in their early 20s tend to become, their testosterone tends to be channeled in a very negative way, and that leads to crimes and being in prison, or in the worst case scenarios, doing mass shootings because they're so angry at not being paid attention to, loved, and respected. And so that's the connection, more than any other single connection, between boys doing so badly today and the lack and the dad deprivation being a cause of it.
Dr. Farrell, I'm going to say this next comment, and please tell me if you think I'm right or wrong. I've got big shoulders, I can take it. But whether it's the church, whether it's the home, whether it's the school, whether it's sports, we today are not teaching young men a purpose in life. Do you agree with me or not?
Not only do I agree with you, but the first major section of the Boy Crisis book is called The Purpose Void. And there's two things that are happening simultaneously. One is this purpose void, and the other is the dad void. So the purpose void, the bad news, there's bad news and good news around purpose. The old purpose of boys was to be willing to, go to war to serve your country. And so the bad news was that millions of men around the world, and tens of thousands of men in the United States died serving that purpose. Or we as men went into the hazardous jobs and often died there. And so, or got, if you're a firefighter, got, black lung disease and got what they called remnant diseases from hazardous jobs. And so the bad news was that many boys died achieving their purpose. The good news is that boys are freer today to have more variation in their senses of purpose than they did in the past. However, if you have many variations in your sense of purpose, you can be a musician, you can be a teacher, you can be a firefighter, you can be a soldier. You don't achieve that purpose very often without the discipline that a dad is more likely to create via boundary enforcement in the family. Without the discipline, you don't have the postponed gratification. So a mom is very good, as a rule, at identifying the gifts and the gifts her son has. Sweetie, you're wonderful at music. You should sing. You should be a musician. You're great at catching footballs. You should go out there and be on the team. So, but the boy, without the postponed gratification, follows that dream and tries to become a musician, but doesn't have the discipline to do all the rehearsals, and so on. And then his dream, he fails at his dream, and if he does that 2, 3, 4 times, after a while he becomes afraid to fail. So his sense of purpose, he's not able to achieve his sense of purpose. So boys today have the advantage of a much wider variety of senses of purpose. But if they don't have the discipline to achieve them, not only do they lose having an alternative sense of purpose be fulfilled, but they become ashamed of themselves. And then when they become ashamed of themselves for not achieving, that's when they tend to withdraw into video game addiction, or when it comes to boy-girl time, girls don't date losers, they date the winners, which means the performers. And so so the boys feel, well, they're not a performer, girls aren't attracted to them, so they start looking for a source of access to a variety of attractive women without fear of rejection at a price they can afford, which is called pornography. And so they get addicted to pornography, which then increases their dopamine only when they get more and more exciting versions of pornography, meaning risky objectification of women versions of pornography. And then when they finally get a real woman in their life, the woman feels objectified because she's being objectified. And so the guy then thinks that, well, this just proves to me that I can't be accepted by a woman, goes back to more pornography, and the cycle repeats itself. And so the lack of purpose. So the good news is we have much more potential for a much greater variety of purposes to be a man. The bad news is if we don't have the discipline, which usually comes from the dad, to achieve those purposes, then we're in much deeper trouble than we've ever been before.
Case in point, and Dr. Farrell, I only have 2 minutes left, so keep your answer relatively short, please. Case in point of what you're talking about is very explained, I think, in the situation with Antonio Brown, a man that's been gifted as a super athlete, probably the best receiver in the National Football League, and in the last year has played for the Steelers, the Raiders. He didn't even put on a uniform for them, and also the Patriots, but he lacks complete discipline, no personality guidance whatsoever, and here's a life that is going to be lost and wasted because no discipline.
Yes, and I don't know what type of relationship Antonio Brown had with his dad, but often what happens with dads is they engage children in things like roughhousing, and they stop the roughhousing if they're being sort of mean to their brother or sister, or not understanding the difference between being assertive and aggressive. So somewhere it appears that Antonio Brown has not had the social skills and the nuances, and I don't know whether that came from a lack of father involvement or not, but oftentimes you need not only a great gift, but the discipline to achieve it, but then also the social skills and emotional intelligence to be able to get along with your teammates and be part of a team.
You know, Dr. Farrell, I apologize. I got strayed a little bit from our original format of what I was going to ask you about this morning, but I'm going to also beg you to come back in the very near future so that we could discuss this more. Thank you so much, the author of The Boy Crisis, Why Our Boys Are Struggling and What We Can Do About It, Dr. Warren Farrell. Please come back soon. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. It's a total pleasure.
Thank you, sir. I've got to have him back, and I want to talk about discipline in the schools or lack of. And I'm going to make a note right now to try to get him scheduled for next week again on the program. Dr. William Farrell, thank you. Dr. Wayne Farrell, pardon me. I said his name wrong. I apologize. I'm going to have him back on the program this next week. Thank you very, very much. I want to remind you about some people that I know that are doing a wonderful job for seniors, and I'm talking about Greystone Crossing Independent Senior Living at 1221 21st Street in Hayburn. If you didn't know, and I did not, they are also offering temporary stays for seniors. Maybe you're leaving to go someplace and you're not able to stay at your home and you're not able to move to the new location. This might be absolutely for you. If you're the caregiver and you need to be out of town for a few days or a few weeks, Matt and Kelly Wiggins at Greystone Crossing welcome the loved one to stay within a home environment right there at Greystone Crossing for a short stay. I urge you, as a matter of fact, I really tell you, you need to call them and find out more. These are wonderful people with a wonderful location where seniors live the good life with friends. Please check it out. Call them today at 650-4979. I'll repeat that number, 650-4979. Don't forget, Greystone Crossing, seniors living the good life with friends. Right now, we're going to send it back over to our main studio. I'll be right back with more.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
When it comes to economics, when I was in high school, I found any excuse necessary not to pay attention or sit in class and learn and absorb. But boy, have I changed my attitude on this over the many, many years since high school. And I only wish that I could have had an economics teacher like this next man, because I think I would have been a straight A student. I say good morning to a friend of this program, Dr. Michael Bustler. Sir, how are you?
Morning, Zeb. How are you doing? Thank you for the kind words. It's my pleasure to be here.
I'm going to start with this, Dr. Bustler. I'm at a loss. You're going to have to help me. You're right back in the heart of all the Eastern thinking. Why in the world would the Democrats want to almost beg and pray for the word recession? What is the matter with these people?
Well, I think it's relatively simple. Their hate for President Trump and their desire to remove him from office, they've given a higher priority to what benefits the country. And as Bill Maher said on his HBO show, if it takes a recession to get Trump out of office, then let's bring on a recession. The Democrats just have their priorities way out of order.
Where are we from an economy standpoint, and you are a public policy analyst and a professor of finance, where are we right now with the Trump administration? Are you fearful that we have some pitfalls that might jump us into a recession? Where are we?
No, I don't think. I think a recession is probably 2 or 3 years away, regardless of what some of the pundits may say. And here's why. A couple of things. One, about 70% of the GDP is generated by the consumer sector, consumers buying things. Well, consumer confidence, which often determines how much people are willing to spend, consumer confidence is way up near record levels. Wage rates are going up at the fastest they've gone up literally in decades. Inflation is under 2%, so you're getting a real increase in wages, and total personal income, not just wages, but other income, is also way up. So the consumers are continuing to spend. Month of July, the last month we have data for on retail sales was an level. So consumers are spending. Business investment is not as big as we'd like it to be, but that's mostly because of uncertainty brought about by the trade war. I think once all this trade negotiations wrapped up, and it may be relatively soon, I think business will start investing again. I don't see the economy going into recession, at least for a couple of years. Now, there's always some variables that could pop up and change that. But so far, I think the economy is very strong. We did have last year, we had the Federal Reserve slowing down economic growth by raising interest rates. And recall, they raised interest rates 8 times from the end of 2016 until the end of 2018. Just when the economy was starting to grow again, that tight money policy put a damper on growth. Well, the Federal Reserve has recognized that they've made a mistake, and they've started to reduce interest rates. They dropped them a quarter of a point in July. They dropped them another quarter of a point in September, just recently. And I think they've realized that they did raise them too fast, and they're bringing them back down to where they should be. So that, coupled with the tax cuts going into effect, once the trade war gets resolved, I think the economy is going to be strong at least for another 2 or 3 years.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Bussler, and it's one of my major concerns, is to the acceptance, and I'll use that word acceptance, of the not very knowledgeable left that wants to buy into the green energy deal. My feelings on that would be the last straw or the nail in the coffin for any increase in our economy, and it would sound a death knell for all Americans because our prices will skyrocket.
Yeah, I don't see any inflationary in general. I don't see any inflationary pressure on the economy. As I said, we're running it under a 2% inflation rate. The Federal Reserve was concerned that rising wage rates may push up labor costs, and that might be an inflationary problem. However, the reason it's not is wages are going up by 3.2%, the last reading, but productivity is going up faster than that. So as long as the productivity is equal to or greater, you won't get any increase in labor costs. In other words, you're paying people 3% more, they're producing 3% more, so it doesn't raise labor costs. So I don't see any inflation from wages. I also don't see any inflation from an overheated economy, which is the other fear the Fed has, because as demand continues to grow, this tax cut in 2018 was a supply-side tax cut, which means it created, it cut taxes not just for the middle class, so consumers can spend, but also for the upper classes and corporations, which created new capital. And as long as you have new capital, business will be able to expand supply to meet the new demand, and there's no reason to have any inflation. So generally speaking, I don't see any inflationary pressure coming up at all. I think the Federal Reserve agrees with that, and that's why they let the interest rate, why they brought the interest rates down. So I don't see inflation as being any of an issue, again, unless something happens, and there's a ton of variables, but unless something happens, I don't see inflation being a problem. We used to worry about energy prices spiking, but because the U.S. now produces so much energy, something happening in the Middle East has a very small impact on world markets. Inflationary pressure there either.
Let me ask you this question. You kind of touched on it, and I'd like you to elaborate on it a little bit. We were talking about labor, and I'm going to bring up the fact of labor unions are trying to have a big resurgence in this country. If that happens, i.e. like the United Auto Workers strike, etc., what will that have as a play on the American economy and possibly inflation?
Well, labor unions raising wages for their workers is a good thing for them and improving working conditions. However, as you point out, all of that needs to be paid for. And if it starts pushing up labor costs so that prices rise, we could run into an inflationary problem. I don't see that happening either, even though General Motors workers went on strike last Monday. They're in the 8th day of their strike now. They're striking not just for higher wages, but they're striking for trying to protect the jobs. And the reason is, as manufacturing comes back to the U.S., and leaving some of these countries where the wage rates are much lower, the only way the U.S. can compete with that is to have highly automated factories. So all this artificial intelligence and robotics will now go into manufacturing. That will mean less workers. So the workers are trying as much to protect their jobs right now as they are for higher wages. The other thing is the UAW selects one company to strike, in this case General Motors, and whatever settlement they get, usually the other companies will follow, Fiat, Chrysler, and Ford. So they're going to try to come up with an agreement that everybody can live with and doesn't cause any long-term harm, but there's always a fear, just like we had back in the 70s, increased wages will tend to drive up labor costs, particularly if those wage increases exceed productivity costs. So that's where the negotiation is now. We'll see how long that lasts.
Dr. Busler, at the last debate the Democrats had on national television, never once, unless I missed it, but never once during the debate did they talk about the economy or anything regarding Trump's administration and the handling of our economy. They're avoiding this issue, and I think the Democrats haven't got a leg to stand on going into 2020. What are your thoughts?
I would agree with you. The reason they're not talking about the economy is everything is going so well that it's pretty hard to criticize what Trump has done. They criticized the trade war, saying that's having a negative impact. And in the short term, there is a little burden of that, but it's not much. It hasn't caused prices to go up yet. And although certain sectors of the economy, like the agriculture sector, are hurting somewhat, they recognize that foreign markets have been closed to U.S. manufacturers for years, and the goal here is to finally get those markets open. I think that'll happen soon. So the Democrats, they keep saying, well, we want to help the working person. We want to get wages up. We want to get opportunities for them. But we've already got that. There are more job openings today than there are unemployed people. The unemployment rate is at historic low for everybody, especially the lower income and minority groups. So it's pretty hard to say anything negative about what President Trump has done with the economy. And you're right, they won't be able to run on that. They're going to have to come up with something else. And what they're coming up with is these programs that cure perceived social injustices, and it ends up hurting the economy. That's what we lived through under the Obama administration.
We have a caller, and I'm going to take that call, and we've got about 5 minutes left in the segment. Caller, quickly, please. You're on the air.
Well, about a month and a half ago, the stock market dropped 800 points in one day, and I got the feeling that the ruling elite of the world in America, George Soros, were trying to figure out a way if they could get it to crash, and then it would domino, and we know that, well, they're willing to do anything to get rid of Trump, including crash the economy on purpose. Like you said, Bill Maher says that's what's going to take, that's what we need to happen. I don't even know if these Iran attacks on the Saudi Arabia oil fields were not spurred on by a ruling elite behind the scenes, and then to help Iran, because Iran is on its you-know-what, and if they don't get something going, their economy those people are suffering dearly over there. I just was wondering if you thought this was the case. I'll hang up.
Respond to the caller, please, Dr. Busler.
Okay, they did break up a little. So what I got was he was talking about Iran and the poor economy that
Yes.
Iran is having.
Yes.
So what President Trump said, he said, look, Iran is not a good a world neighbor. They are encouraging terrorism, and they're trying to provoke, it looks like, a war. They just attacked Saudi Arabia. They've taken over ships. So President Trump says, look, I want to negotiate something that we all can live with. Well,
Iran said, we're not negotiating anything. We have an agreement. We have all the money we need back from the U.S. We're not changing anything. Well, President Trump said, I'm not honoring that deal. It was not a treaty ratified by the Senate, so I don't have to honor it. And if you want to continue to do business in the world, you're going to have to negotiate with us. Iran essentially said no. The Americans said, okay, we're just going to put sanctions on you, which will cripple your economy, and it's doing it. And the hope is that will bring Iran to the table without having to take any kind of military action against them. I think it's working. The Iranian economy is in terrible shape. They have extremely high unemployment. Inflation is running wild. The young people are getting very upset that there's no opportunity for them. And all this could be resolved if Iran would just come to the table and agree to be a peaceful member of the world community.
Let me ask you this final question, Dr. Bussler. Are you amazed, I guess that's a good word, are you amazed as a professor that the American public is so gullible in accepting the word free today? In other words, like free Medicare, free college tuition, the excusing of medical debt, etc. It's all free, free, free. Where is this money going to come from, and why are people buying into this?
Well, people that are struggling, and there are not that many of them today. There were many more people struggling back in 2008 and even 2012, and even 2016. But today, there are not that many people struggling today. But the Democratic message is, for anybody that's struggling, we're going to take care of everything for you, so you don't have to have individual responsibility anymore. It'll be a social responsibility. So it seems like they're getting things for free. And I tell my students, when you're offered something for free, it will be the most expensive thing you can get. And why is that? Well, you have free college tuition. So for 4 years, somebody else is paying your college tuition. The somebody else are the taxpayers. Once you graduate and start working, for the rest of your life, the next 45, 50 years of working, you'll be paying somebody else's college tuition. So what you think is free for you, once you start working and contributing, you'll realize it's not so free. Look, I have a personal experience. I went to college back in the late 60s and 70s. I mean, we were hippies back then. We said the government should take care of everything, and I was all for the government helping. And then I got working and started earning income and realized everything I wanted the government to do was coming out of my paycheck. So I started to say, well, if I have to take care of myself, why don't able-bodied people take care of themselves? And that's, I think, as people start to get more jobs and start earning their own income and being able to take care of themselves, some of this talk will go away. Listen, the people who are taking free stuff really don't want it. They only take it because they have no other choice. What they really want is what President Trump is giving them, and that is opportunity. So if you have opportunity, you can earn the income and then pay for your own college, pay for your own health care, pay for everything yourself rather than relying on the government. That helps everybody. It gives people more self-esteem, and it reduces the role of government, reduces the amount of taxes they can take, and that will stimulate economic growth and make things better for everybody.
Absolutely. I have time for one more call. I've only got 2 minutes left. Caller, real fast. Go. You're on the air.
Yes, I called in earlier about the crashing of the economy about a month and a half ago when it dropped 800 points in one day, and I felt that the ruling elite, George Soros and others, were doing whatever they could to try to crash the American economy, including with suggestion. Is that true? And I'm going to hang up.
Respond quickly to the caller, please.
Yeah, so they did what they could to tank the economy. So here's what happened that caused the drop. Normally, long-term interest rates are higher than short-term interest rates because you're tying up money for a longer time period and you're taking more risk. So a 10-year bond should have a higher interest rate than a 2-year bond, which it normally does. If it happens that the 2-year bond rate is higher than the 10-year rate, they call that an inversion. About 70% of the time that happens, a recession follows within the next 22 months. So that's what brought about all this recession talk. The investors were very jittery. I believe they overreacted, and the market dropped.
Then they realized that, hey, the inversion ended a day afterwards, and the only reason we had an inversion in the first place was the Federal Reserve pushed short-term interest rates up so high, and they started to bring them down in July. Had they brought them down a half a point in July, which I argued they should have, we would have never had the inversion. So all this talk of a recession, there's no economic basis for it. I think we're years away from a recession unless there's some shock to the system. I think we're going to be in good shape, and I even think growth will accelerate next year over what we had this year, mainly because I think the trade war will be resolved and interest rates have been brought down. They may even drop them another quarter point in December. That will lead to more economic growth next year and probably the year after. So it's at least the end of 21, 22, unless there's some shock, that we're likely to see any kind of recession.
This gentleman is a PhD and professor of finance, and I absolutely love having him on the program to explain things. Dr. Michael Busler, thank you, sir. Come back soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zeb. It's always my pleasure to be here.
All right, sir. That man knows, and he lays it out for us in very easy-to-understand language. He's a public policy analyst, economics expert, and a professor of finance at Stockton University in New Jersey, and he's been a great friend of this program. Dr. Michael Busler, we do appreciate it. Thank you very much. Holy cow, we got to get a weather forecast on here. Wheels is saying, my goodness, come on, Zeb. Weather forecast brought to you by Scarro's Meats. Oh, yeah. 331 North Road, Jerome. Call them. 324-7657, or go to their website, scarrowsmeats.com. All the delicious meats for you, your family, your gatherings, whatever. Oh, I'm telling you, whether it's the marinated pork ribs or the tri-tips, I've had a frog in my throat all morning, all the different bacons, or of course, everything. The brats, oh, fantastic. You're going to love it at Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. We'll tell you more right after this with Scotty and the weather.
And good morning as we saddle up for another week on this Monday. Time for your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. For today, expecting mostly sunny skies. Highs are going to be around 72. Then for tonight, mostly clear. Lows of 44. A little bit of a breeze going to be coming in on Tuesday. Looking for sunshine and a high of 71. Mostly clear for Tuesday night and breezy. Lows of 44. Then for Wednesday, sunshine, a high of 70. Maybe a chance of some showers moving in on Thursday and Friday. That's your Zeb at the Ranch weather forecast. Have a great day.
Thank you, Scotty. Appreciate it. Brought to you by Scarrow's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Again, that telephone number, 324-7657. At Scarrow's Meats, they really are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Caller, good morning. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Zeb. Hey, did you ever watch any Star Wars movies?
To be very frank and honest with you, that is not my kind of movie. No, I have not.
Okay, well, there's a character in there. His name is Yoda.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever know what his last name was?
Never really cared.
Leahy-Hoo.
Say that again so that I can understand it in English.
His full name is Yoda Leahy-Hoo.
Oh, Yoda Leahy. That's cute. Yoda Leahy-Hoo. I get a kick out of that one. Now, if that's for real, fine. If it's not, it's still funny. I appreciate that.
See you, Zeb.
No, buddy, thank you. See you at Lunch Bunch. God bless you, Yoda Leahy-Hoo. Okay, thank you. And then he was going to come and say he's from the Swiss Alps, I know. Great program. A lot of good guests. Dr. Wayne Farrell, Dr. Michael Busler, all of them. Thank you. And especially my good friend, Richard Manning. Appreciate it. Caller, good morning. I got 1 minute. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I appreciated that last guest you had on. I mean, he explained that so that, like, even I could understand that, you know? And so that was a really good job. I appreciate it.
Well, I'll tell you something, sir. I thank you for your compliment because it makes me, as the host and producer of this show, it makes me really feel good that we're getting people on the air that are answering your questions, and I thank you for that kind comment. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having having him on.
You bet, sir. Thank you. That's what I like to hear. We try really hard, between Deanne and myself, every single day to work on getting the best of people for this program. Want to remind you quickly about our friends at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations are celebrating a big fall tire sale right now. And I urge you to get in there and share in the savings on tires like the Terramax HT or the Backcountry Touring HT or the Backcountry MT. You can save $152, up to $152 on a set of select 4 light truck tires and SUV tires. Please check it out right now. If you're going hunting, you better be prepared. Make sure you have the brakes checked, the front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more at all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. They've been doing the right thing since 1952. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and Trent on Overland in Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. What's on the menu for tomorrow? We've got Dan Kish with the American Energy Alliance. We've got General Spalding talking about the severe and very serious news with China's relationship with the United States. Dr. History is going to be here. We've got all kinds of great folks coming on the program. Don't miss it, because we start at 8:06 and ride the horse till 11 o'clock right here on K-Bar, 12:30 a.m., and then streaming live on the internet all over the world on ZebBell.com. Until tomorrow, we always say the way things were are the way they ought to be, and we always end it with these 4 words: in God we trust. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow morning at 8:06.